Hello, figments of my imagination. 2 weeks ago, the Dune Awakening beta launched for a weekend. I had a trip coming up, so I didn't get that much playtime and didn't have any time to do a proper review, so I just uploaded all of my raw footage. But it's a new week, and I have slightly more free time, so it's review time. Normally this is the part where I give a timestamp to see just my verdict and skip the reasoning, but considering how obvious it's going to be, I'll just say it here. This game sucks. I feel like I have to start by saying that I have no connection to the Dune franchise, never read the books, never watched the movies, nothing. The only thing I knew going in was that spice is important, so the underground market on paprika is probably booming there. Maybe that keeps me a little less biased, because while I might not know Dune, I do know survival crafting games. I also know MMOs, which this game originally claimed to be, but later dropped. Instead, what we're left with is a pretty generic entry into the survival crafting space, with forced multiplayer and a Dune skin. So let's get to the specific complaints, which may include some spoilers. You've been warned. The highest one on my list has to be all the forced walking. After the basic tutorial, the first quest has you run across the desert, run back to your base, then run across the desert again, just to repeat the process. And of course, you can't run straight across the desert, or a wurm might eat you, which we'll talk about soon, don't worry. So your travel time is artificially inflated by requiring you to sprint to rock formations rather than just taking a straight shot. Add in the constantly draining water supply, which basically requires you to return to your base frequently, and you end up spending most of your playtime just traveling. Granted, movement does seem to improve slightly. Pretty early on you craft a bike, which offers a slight movement speed increase. The devs have also teased the ability to get an ornithopter, which is basically a helicopter for my non-Dune brethren, so that probably makes travel time less painful. But still, it's 2025, I don't want to spend all my playtime running laps in an honestly pretty empty world. At least allow base teleportation or something. Speaking of breaking immersion and genre norms, for some reason water is the only survival element. Apparently food isn't a concern. Heat also exists, but it basically boils down to stand in the shadows for a few seconds or you get thirsty faster. Maybe there's some lore reason why you don't have to eat, but it just comes off as lazy development, especially since the world as a whole is so empty. Why not force us to kill some critters and cook them up? Maybe it's because the developers also know the combat is garbage. You craft a gun pretty early, but honestly you don't really need it, considering the AI seems to be blindfolded or something. Most encounters are easily won by just sprinting towards your enemy and stagger locking them with fast attacks. Add in a heavy to speed things up if you want, and move on to the next one. If you do use the gun, just spam tap a few times on their head and move on. If they even have a ranged weapon, they probably won't hit you more than once. In fact, the only times I died in combat are when I went AFK and when my dash bugged out, preventing me from breaking out of stagger. Of course, that death also led to my number one reason this game sucks, so let's get into it. After I died, I didn't get to choose my respawn point. I assume it had something to do with spamming inputs, but whatever. So instead of spawning at my base in the second area, or my bike, I spawned back at Hago Basin South, across the desert for my bike and all of my stuff. The main quest makes you craft a bike to cross the Vermilius Gap, but the beta was running out of time, so I didn't exactly want to craft another. So I ran, and was promptly eaten by our good friend, Mr. Worm. Apparently the result of that is all of your inventory being removed, and a ghost telling you he will give you a bike as a one-time gift. And stripped of all my equipment and materials, facing the prospect of collecting it all again, I did the only sensible thing. Uninstalled the beta and refunded my pre-order. So there you have it. I got eaten by the worm and quit the whole game. Now, before I get flooded with all the get good comments, I do want to clarify, I have no problem with hardcore style games or death mechanics where you lose everything. I do normally want them explained ahead of time, as I had no idea what worm death entailed, and losing everything is a pretty big shock. But even that isn't the real problem. The real problem was it just wasn't fun. The world felt empty, the combat was repetitive, the questing was boring, and the whole thing just felt like it was designed to waste your time rather than be fun. And the thought of doing that all again after the worm felt miserable. And maybe it's different for fans of the franchise who just want to chill in that world. That's fine, but that's also not me. I'm here to play a game. And frankly, there's no reason in my mind to play this game over any of the other survival crafting options, like Valheim or more recent releases like Dragon Wilds. Personally, I was already disappointed when they ditched the MMO label, as that was what really excited me. As it stands, I guess I'll just have to find something else to occupy June. And that's it. Disappointment abounds, but I'm getting pretty used to that in the gaming space at this point. I'll get more into that soon probably, but the short version is, I was really enjoying a game, then it got taken down. I was planning a video for it, but that'll probably have to wait for the dev's second version. Anyways, do YouTube stuff if you want. Don't forget to yell at me about how great Dune is in the comments, and I'll see you all eventually.